A billionaire walks into a Patek Philippe boutique with enough money to buy every single watch inside it. He asks for one specific piece, and Patek Philippe says no, not "it's sold out," not "there's a wait list." No, he offers more, then a number large enough to buy a small airline. The answer doesn't change. Somewhere in that room, a decision has already been made about who he is, and it has nothing to do with his bank account, because this watch isn't for sale, it's earned. And most of the richest people on the planet will never be allowed to buy it, no matter how much they offer. So what is this watch? And why would a company refuse millions of dollars for it? This is genuinely how the most exclusive object in the entire watch world operates, and it's exactly why the richest collectors on the planet spend decades trying to earn something that money alone can never buy. The watch that man was asking for has a name, and inside the world of horology, it's spoken almost like a legend: the Grandmaster Chime. It's the single most complicated wristwatch Patek Philippe has ever put on a human wrist, layered with roughly 20 different complications, including chiming mechanisms so intricate that watchmakers sometimes spend years assembling a single piece by hand under a microscope, without room for a single mistake. It doesn't just tell time, it negotiates with time, chiming the hours, the minutes, alarms, and dates in ways that took Patek Philippe's engineers generations to perfect. But the engineering was never really the obstacle. The obstacle is getting Patek Philippe to even consider you. Here's the part almost nobody outside this world understands. Patek Philippe doesn't sell a Grandmaster Chime. It allocates one, like a private club deciding who gets to walk through the door. There's no official wait list you can sign, no form to fill out, no amount of money you can wire to skip the line, because the line technically doesn't exist on paper at all. What exists instead is something far more old-fashioned and, in its own way, far more ruthless. A relationship built slowly, over years, with people who are watching you the entire time. Collectors describe it almost the same way, city after city, decade after decade. Before you're ever even mentioned as a candidate for a Grandmaster Chime, you first have to prove something. And it isn't that you can afford it, because everyone standing in that boutique can afford it. You have to prove that you belong there. In practice, that usually means years of buying what insiders quietly call the ordinary Pateks. First, a Calatrava, an Aquanaut, maybe a steel Nautilus if you are fortunate enough to even be offered one. You buy them, you wear them. You don't flip them the moment the market gets hot, and slowly you build a history with a specific boutique and a specific team who begins to recognize your face before your name, long before anyone ever whispers the words Grandmaster Chime in your direction. Patek Philippe has never published an official rulebook for any of this. There's no contract stating, buy 5 watches, unlock the 6th. And yet, among serious collectors, it's treated as an unspoken law, as real and as unquestioned as gravity, even though nobody has ever seen it written down anywhere. At the center of this invisible system sits one man, Thierry Stern, president of Patek Philippe and the 4th generation of the Stern family to run the company. According to those who move through this world, when it comes to a piece as rare as the Grandmaster Chime, Stern is often the final word on who actually receives one. Not a committee, not an algorithm quietly crunching sales data, but one person making deeply human judgment calls about other human beings. Stern has spoken publicly about protecting what he calls the soul of the brand, and about caring far less about maximizing short-term sales than about who ultimately ends up wearing a watch like this one. Patek Philippe's own advertising has repeated the same idea for decades, in a slogan collectors know by heart and could probably recite in their sleep. You never actually own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation. That single sentence quietly reframes everything about how you should be seeing the Grandmaster Chime. It isn't a purchase in the traditional sense at all. It's a custodianship, something you're entrusted with rather than something you simply own. Which is exactly why the people most likely to be quietly denied one aren't scammers or criminals or anyone remotely suspicious in the conventional sense. They're flippers. Buyers suspected of trying to secure a Grandmaster Chime only to resell it days later for triple the price. Or collectors who seem far more interested in the watch's value as a photograph, as content, as clout for an audience, than as an object to actually wear and eventually pass down. Word travels fast in a world this small and this insular. Boutique managers talk to each other across continents. Reputations follow collectors from Geneva to Hong Kong to New York faster than any of them realize. And once someone is quietly marked as chasing status rather than earning it, the door doesn't slam shut dramatically. It simply, politely, stops opening. And the Grandmaster Chime moves, quietly, into someone else's hands instead. And here is where the story turns almost unbelievable. Every single time Patek Philippe says no to a Grandmaster Chime, it doesn't destroy demand. It multiplies it, almost instantly. Because the watch world has learned something the rest of the luxury industry is still struggling to fully understand. Scarcity isn't a side effect for Patek Philippe. It's the entire strategy. Only a handful of Grandmaster Chimes are made in a given year, and the company deliberately keeps it that way, even as global demand keeps exploding around it. That scarcity exploded into public view in 2019, when a one-of-a-kind steel Grandmaster Chime, created specifically for the Only Watch charity auction, sold at Christie's in Geneva for roughly $31 million. Steel. Not gold, not platinum, arguably the humblest material in fine watchmaking, turned into one of the most expensive watches ever auctioned. Purely because it was a Grandmaster Chime, it was unique, and one determined bidder decided he had to own the single piece nobody else on earth could. When a Grandmaster Chime does resurface on the rare occasion one changes hands, it rarely moves at anything close to its original price. It moves for whatever the room is willing to fight for. To understand just how extraordinary that Grandmaster Chime auction result really was, it helps to zoom out for a moment. Patek Philippe has broken watch auction records before. Back in 2014, Sotheby sold the Henry Graves Super Complication, a Patek Philippe pocket watch originally commissioned in the 1930s by a wealthy American banker, for just over $23 million, the record at the time. The Grandmaster Chime didn't just match that legacy. 5 years later, it surpassed it, cementing the same family name at the very top of watch auction history, twice, with two completely different pieces, decades apart. This is the paradox sitting at the very heart of true luxury. The harder something becomes to obtain, the more the entire world quietly convinces itself that obtaining it matters. Patek Philippe didn't just build an extraordinary watch in the Grandmaster Chime. It built desire itself around one object, patiently, methodically, one polite refusal at a time, until refusal became the most persuasive marketing tool the brand ever created. And the strange part is that everyone inside this world knows exactly what's happening, and none of it changes their behavior. Collectors still wait years, hoping their name is eventually mentioned. Bidding wars still stretch on for another million, then another, long after the reasonable price has clearly been left behind. Because by that point, nobody in the room is really paying for a watch anymore. They're paying for the privilege of finally being let in. So let's go back, one final time, to that billionaire standing inside the boutique, asking for a Grandmaster Chime he was never going to be allowed to buy that day. He had the money. He had the private jet, the driver, the kind of net worth that could buy almost anything humanity has ever manufactured. And somehow, none of it was enough, because somewhere along the way, Patek Philippe discovered something most luxury brands never dare to admit out loud. If everyone with enough money can buy it, it stops being luxury and quietly becomes merchandise instead. True exclusivity was never really about a price tag. It's a decision made by someone else entirely. A decision that you, specifically, are worthy of joining an invisible circle that money alone simply cannot buy its way into. And that's the twist hiding underneath this entire story. We assume the ultimate luxury is having enough money to buy anything you want, whenever you want it. But the ultimate luxury, the real one, is being chosen. The richest man in the room can still be told no. And somewhere in Geneva, a family that has quietly run one company for over a century understands exactly what that single word is worth. Far more, in the end, than anything a billionaire could ever wire into an account for a watch called the Grandmaster Chime. If this pulled back a curtain you didn't know existed, subscribe to Aura Luxury, because this is only the beginning of the hidden world behind money, status, and the objects the ultra-wealthy fight for years to obtain. We'll see you in the next one.